Haiste, a UK firm of consulting engineers that was founded in 1920 and was in business for more than 70 years. Hello, and thanks for clicking on to watch this video, which is the third in the series that I'm making to try to put something meaningful in the digital record about the consulting engineering firm Haiste and its achievements. We cover the period from 1950, when John H Haiste was contemplating retirement and succession. The firm then grew in the 1950s and 1960s, through until 1974, when an event occurred that changed the commercial environment radically, and the firm had to adapt to survive. I'm Hugh Allen, and I joined Haiste in 1971, so I was there in those final years covered by this video. I'm glad still to be in touch with former colleagues who worked for Haiste in the 1950s and 1960s. Their recollections and documents have helped considerably in making this video and giving us a flavour of how it was back in those days. So let's now just watch the video. It's surely impressive that the projects undertaken by the firm in the interwar years were all done while John Haiste was the sole principal with just a small team around him. Approaching retirement, he wanted the firm to continue, so he brought in his first partner. John Sharkie, generally known as Josh, was a registered Panel 1 engineer under the Reservoirs Safety Act. Seemingly a man of genial disposition who got on well with clients. Then came the redoubtable Cyril Rowe, dubbed Charlie by the staff. He was a hard taskmaster and had a few earthy phrases that he would roll out when the work of his employees didn't match up to his high standards. In due course, Rowe became senior partner, and like John Haiste before him, he too was keen that the firm would continue to prosper, not least so that his equity share had value that could be sold on to the partners who followed. This image is from the early mid-1960s. By this time, Rowe had withdrawn as a partner, but remained a consultant to the firm during the period of equity transition, an arrangement that was common practice in those days. There was very little work then in docks and harbours, which had been the firm's mainstay in the early years of the practice, so its other strength in the water supply and sewerage sector came to the fore as Britain's post-war reconstruction and development got underway. One of the largest schemes was for the Upper Stour Valley, main sewers and a new treatment plant to serve a population of 145,000. Fees based on the Association of Consulting Engineer scales were generally very profitable, such as on jobs involving long pipelines and those with common elements like pumping stations and tanks, that with a few drawing amendments could be lifted from previous schemes. Senior staff were well enough paid, but for new starters there was no such thing back then as a statutory minimum wage. A school leaver would not get much more than pocket money, and if taken on formally as an indentured engineer or articled pupil, possibly even nothing at all until a probationary period had elapsed. Taken on as an apprentice draftsman in 1958, Ian Aldred was paid £3 per week. But after showing some promise, he was formally indentured under the Institution of Civil Engineers training scheme. Ian recalls that in the first year of his indenture, he was getting only £1 a week, when his bus fare was £1 10 shillings. He was only the second trainee in the firm who was actually paid on starting as an indentured pupil. Here now is my former colleague David Ellis, a top-notch engineering technician and a Haiste employee with 47 years of service under his belt. He'll tell us more about those days. Well, I'm delighted to be here today with a former colleague of mine, David Dawson. And David joined Haiste in 1952, would you believe? And I'm hoping that he's going to be able to reveal a bit more about what it was like working for the firm in those years, 1950s and 1960s.
I was employed as a trainee draftsman. Started off at 30 shillings a week for the first year, £2 for the second year, and £2.50 for the third year. I was allowed one day and probably 2 evenings a week to go to college. And Alan Collins and I took it upon ourselves to go down to the college to register. We were asked what course we wanted. We said, what's your jobs? We trainee draftsman. Oh, the building college will be the best course for you because they do drawing there. And so for the next 7 years, I was working and going to college part-time. My daily routine at 10 o'clock was to go around all the 2 offices and get their orders for what they wanted for lunch. I remember one chap in particular, every morning he wanted a £1/4 of chocolate digestive biscuits.
I see. And he consumed that during the course of
and
the
I
day.
thought, I used to think, well, miserable bugger, why don't you get £1? But every time it was 4 ounces. I did 2 years and then I was called up for national service, and then we came back from our 2 years national service to be told that we were still trainees because they extended the course from 3 years to 5 years.
Oh, I see.
So we took that on board, and subsequently we got certification that we'd served a 5-year apprenticeship as draftsman.
Right.
And we just then went into the midst of things and learnt by association,
Yes,
as it were.
as you do.
This opportunity came to move to Peterborough, which was supposedly just for 3 months. And it's a one-on-one then. There was Harvey, a typist, and myself, and I was taken out to site, meeting clients, councillors and things like
So
that.
much more responsibility when
So
you're down to Peterborough.
I got much deeper into it.
Yes.
And that 3 months then just continued because the guy they expected to come back did not rejoin the firm. So my 3 months ran into 7 years.
Oh, right. So I'm going to ask you now about the health and safety side of things, because you were a casualty in regard to contracting mule's disease. I suppose generally things were a bit casual as far as
Very much.
Health and safety were concerned.
Very much. We were sent on night shifts doing infiltration tests.
Yes, yes.
And there'd be 2 of us, no special equipment, you were told to wear gloves. And that was basically it. There's no breathing apparatus, anything like that.
No.
And in the early morning hours, we were jumping down manholes. And it got to the stage that it was too much faff to put the gloves on and take them off and put them back on.
Yeah.
That's the reason I caught the disease, through blisters
Yes. Yeah.
that opened.
Being the
But again,
yes.
after that all changed.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, health and safety.
So they did tighten up after.
Oh, very much so, yes.
Yes. So there's an awareness that.
Minimum numbers, and
Yes.
you were roped up and harnessed up
Yes.
before you did anything like that.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the social side of things.
As you know, trips to the pipe manufacturers.
So the social outings.
Social outings, yes, it was all first name terms when you dealt with them over the telephone.
Yes.
Hello, Jim, and yes, and they'd come looking at you for advice not advice, but for likely numbers of products that were required and things.
So I understand that there are also cricket matches involved.
Cricket matches, yes. Was the pipe manufacturers, there was Aim Cross the Mills,
Yes.
big iron foundries, and
So did you go over to Hayward for Ames Cross?
yes, we'd travel over there. They'd come to us one part of the year, and we'd go across to their offices or grounds premises. Cricket in the summer, of course.
Yes.
Football in the winter.
Okay. And but I remember when I started with Haiste, it would have been lunchtime. We'd be down at one or the other of the 2 main pubs in Headingley. We'd either be in the Original Oak or we'd be in the Skyrack.
Yes.
So you remember those times?
Indeed, yes. Friday lunchtime particularly.
So,
And we used to come back the back way rather
Yes.
than Wood Lane. We'd drop over the fence so we weren't seen coming in late. So we could come straight over the wall and into the print room.
having had a few pints.
And we'd had a few pints, yes.
Yeah.
But
What was the quality of your draftsmanship like on a Friday afternoon then, Dave?
Friday afternoons we're generally making up prints. And so we would have a mad afternoon colour washing. Do you remember colour washing?
I do remember colour washing.
All our prigs had to be colour washed with the pipelines outlined in blue and this sort of thing. So
you reserved that for a Friday afternoon.
That was done on a Friday afternoon in somebody's wisdom. So yeah. Well, there were always good times. There were always fun.
Yeah,
Like
it was a good
there was
atmosphere.
always a good spirit.
Good spirit working.
Good spirit.
Yeah.
Never any trouble for organising an evening out for some reason.
Yes.
We became always ready with numbers. So
Thanks very much for telling us about these times and what your recollections. Will be lost forever unless someone like you tells us about it.
Right.
So, thanks very much. In the 1950s and 60s, a professional consulting engineering practice wouldn't have anything as overtly commercial as a printed brochure, but a tasteful portfolio in mock leather binding and with original photographic prints was produced. It could be shown to potential clients, and some would perhaps be given a copy. There are 76 clients listed in its pages. Here we see Haiste partner David Ellis at the official opening of the Withernsea sewerage scheme in 1962, and here under construction a large main drainage scheme for Fleetwood in Lancashire with pipelines of up to 2 metres in diameter. Similar schemes were implemented at Gainsborough and the Wirral. Solid waste treatment plants and sea defence works were also undertaken. The seawall at Robin Hood's Bay in North Yorkshire was completed in the final year of this video's coverage. It withstood 50 years of relentless pounding from the North Sea, but by 2023 it was in need of repair. £1.4 million was not a lot to spend in today's money to ensure its longevity for another 50 years. In 1974, like other such firms, John H Haiste and Partners faced an existential challenge. As a result of local government reorganisation and the formation of new water authorities, on the day that legislation came into force, it lost most of its clients. Ongoing projects were of course carried through to successor authorities, but it wasn't long before they were concluded and without a pipeline of new projects to replace them. The problem was further exacerbated by the new large bodies establishing their own in-house capital works departments, greatly lessening their reliance on outside consulting engineering firms. For the first time in the 55 years of Haiste's existence, there were staff redundancies. It was the hardest of jobs for section leaders to have to decide who was to be let go, to use that euphemism. If you're still with me, and we are about to finish, the story so far would have its equivalent in the many other provincial civil engineering consultants that were around back at that time. But it's what happened next that I believe sets Haiste apart from its peers. The firm's survival depending on finding work overseas. This wasn't exactly a novel idea, because there always had been an overseas dimension to the practice. In 1974, there was overseas activity in Italy, Nigeria and Spain, but they didn't offer the prospect of making up for the shortfall in work that was occurring in the UK. The partners looked to the Middle East and North Africa, at a time when those countries that had oil reserves were accumulating great wealth due to a hike in crude oil prices following the Yom Kippur War in 1973. Haiste's record of achievement post-1974 included large projects in capital cities in Iraq and Libya, and later in Greece and in Tunisia. As the 1980s unfolded, in the UK the firm recovered its mojo. It obtained work from the new local authorities and water authorities. It branched out into structural engineering and mechanical and electrical services. And it became a leading player in the analysis and management of water and wastewater network systems, and in SCADA and telemetry and ICA. That expertise was then in turn deployed overseas, in Greece, in Germany, Portugal, Spain, Ireland and in Jordan. So there's a lot to be covered in future videos in this series, and I hope you'll watch them.